Hi everyone. So in this video, we are going to see lifecycle hooks in LWC. Okay. In LWC, lifecycle hooks is one important concept. Okay. So if you want to become a proficient LWC developer, then you have to master this lifecycle hooks concept. Okay. So if you take other programming languages, each programming language has its own lifecycle hooks. Okay. So likewise, LWC also has its own lifecycle hooks. Okay. So let us understand first what is lifecycle. Okay. So in general, if you take a human being, the life cycle of a human being, right from the time of the birth to the elder senior stage, we human being go through a lot of stages in our life, right? Similarly, the components, whatever we have created as of now, goes through a stages in its life cycle. Okay. Say for example, we have created a component, right? The many components we have created here. So the components also goes through a series of stages in its life cycle. Say, for example, when the component is being mounted onto this particular page, it goes through a particular stage. Okay. And then when it is getting initialized, it gets into another stage. Okay. Likewise, the components also goes through different stages in its life cycle. Okay. So the what is life cycle hooks is there is in LWC a callback methods will get executed in the backend automatically in each stages of this particular component. Okay. So the components has life cycle and each and every stages in LWC has a callback method getting executed in the backend. Okay. So we are going to understand what is that. Okay. What are those callback methods also? Okay. The takeaway point from here is the components also has the life cycle. Okay. So the point is actually each and every component goes through a life cycle, right? So let us see this in a pictorial representation. Okay. So as I told you, the component life cycle is right from the time it is being mounted into the page or the environment where it is being mounted or into any other app page or home page, wherever the component is being mounted, that is the initial stage of the component. Okay. Yeah. Then what happens is after the processing all is completed, we actually remove the component, right? So when you're removing it, the particular stage comes here. Okay. The unmounting stage comes here. Okay. So from the time of mounting to the time of unmounting, the component goes through different stages in its life cycle. Okay. So the components has life cycle and it goes through different stages. Okay. That is called as component life cycle. Okay. Now let us understand what is life cycle hooks. Okay. What is this hooks is? Hooks are nothing but the callback methods. Okay. In LWC, there is a predefined callback method at the backend. Okay. So these are called as hooks. Okay. These callback methods, we need not explicitly invoke these callback methods. It will be automatically invoked in the backend. Okay. Based on the stages of the component. Say for example, there is a component. Okay. There is a component. The component is actually in the initialization stage and then it goes through the updation stage and then rendering stage. Okay. Likewise, it is having different stages. Okay. For each and every stage, LWC has a predefined callback method at the backend. Okay. So these callback methods, we call it as hooks. Okay. So these callback methods will get automatically invoked based on the stage the component is in. Okay. So if it is in the initialization stage, the particular callback method will get executed automatically. If it is in the dismounting stage, that is, if it is being removed from the particular environment, that particular callback method will get invoked automatically. So the takeaway point is lifecycle hooks are nothing but the callback methods. Okay. So those are having the predefined callback methods, which is getting automatically invoked in the backend. Okay. So what is the part of us is as a developer, we should be able to analyze and understand at what point of time these callback methods are getting triggered in the component's lifecycle. Only when you understand that point of time when it is getting invoked, you can become pro in LWC so that you can actually inject your code in that particular callback method according to your use case. Say, for example, we are developing a quiz app. Okay, a quiz component we are developing from LWC. Okay, so initially what happens is we need some questions to be loaded into our component, right? So if you have understood the callback methods, which component will actually, which callback method will get invoked at the initialization stage, as a developer, we can actually use the predefined methods for that. Okay. So only when you understand as a developer, only when you understand which are all the callback methods will get executed at what point of time in the component's life cycle, we can actually make the best use of that in our use cases. Okay, so that is what I have given here. Say, for example, for the initialization of the data, we have a separate callback method. Okay, that is a lifecycle hooks. Okay, and then if it is actually updating the DOM, then we have a separate lifecycle hook for that. Okay, and the cleaning up resources. Like, for example, once the job is done, once the component job is done, it has to be removed, right? So during the removal process, the removal stage has a separate callback method. Okay, you can take up the example of the quiz app itself. Okay, in the quiz app, for the initialization, we have a callback method. For updating, say, for example, the user is giving his options. Okay, so that time we can actually have one more callback method will get invoked at the backend automatically. So once the job is done, once the quiz game is done, if it is over, we have to remove this component, right? So on that point of time, we have this cleaning up resources to clean up the data. Okay, so that callback method will get triggered automatically. Okay, so as a developer, we have to understand which time this particular callback methods will be invoked in the components lifecycle. Okay, so the takeaway point is the LWC components has lifecycle, and the lifecycle hooks are nothing but the callback methods which are getting automatically invoked in the backend based on the status of the component. Okay, that is what I have given here also. Okay, I hope this is clear, right? Now we are going to see what are all the lifecycle hook methods available in LWC. Okay, so in this video, we are going to see only the introduction. We are going to see what is what alone. So the next video, we are going to see in detail about the each and every phase. Okay, so the lifecycle hook methods in LWC has 3 phases. Okay, the mounting phase we are going to see now. There is one other phase and there is one other phase, that is unmounting and error phase is there. Okay, so we are going to see these 3 phases as 3 separate videos. Okay, so let us understand what are all the callback methods are getting invoked automatically in the mounting phase. So the mounting phase has constructed first. Okay, and then the connected callback will get invoked automatically in the backend. This is all hooks. So these we call it as hooks in LWC. Okay, the callback methods of the lifecycle, we call it as hooks. Okay, so in the rendered callback. Okay, these are the callback methods. It gets automatically invoked in the backend in the mounting phase. Okay, and then we have unmounting phase. That is when you remove the component, we have the disconnected callback. It will be automatically invoked. Okay, so if any of your component is having any errors, if it is throwing up any errors, then we have a error phase which is having a hook called as error callback. Okay, so these methods you should be able to remember and understand also. I will be explaining to you what is this constructor and everything in the detail in the next videos. Okay, so these methods alone, you have to keep it in your mind. Okay, that is what I have given it in the pictorial representation also. Once your component is being mounted on the screen, it goes through the different callback methods will get invoked automatically. In first one is the constructor in the mounting, and then the connected callback and the rendered callback. Okay, once the component is being dismounted or unmounted, disconnected callback will be automatically invoked. Okay, and the error callback will be invoked once the error is thrown in any of the component. Okay, so the connected callbacks and the rendered callback and constructors are for the mounting and dismounting for the disconnected callback. Okay, so these callback methods will get invoked automatically based on the stages of the components. Okay, that is the takeaway point here. Okay, next let us see the most important slide. So once you understand this particular concept here very clearly, the following videos will be seeing hands-on. Okay, so those videos, when I explain the lifecycle hooks with an example, you'll be able to understand very clearly. Okay, say for example, I'm having a component. Okay, this is my component. Okay, say it is a parent component. Okay, so we have all used to create parent and child components, right? We all know how to create parent and we all know how to refer the child inside the parent. Okay, imagine that there is a component which is a parent component. Okay, we are going to see the life cycle of the parent and child here. Okay, if you are having a parent component and if you are embedding a child into it, you are going to see how the life cycle hooks are getting executed in both the things. Okay, so the parent component starts rendering the first. Okay, so when the component is being mounted on my screen, on my app page or home page anywhere, the first callback method, the lifecycle hook, which is going to get executed first is the constructor and the parent. Okay, the constructor will be the first callback method that gets invoked. Okay, next what happens is it checks whether any public properties to be updated. Public properties are nothing but the class level properties. Okay, if it has to be updated, it does that first. Okay, if it is not, then it is going to insert the parent into the DOM. Okay, the parent component will get inserted into the DOM. We all know what is DOM, right? And then the connected callback will call at this time. Okay, so the constructor calls the first, and then the connected callback method will be called at this point of time. Okay, after the connected callback method is called, the parent will get rendered. That is, it will be rendered on the template. Okay, now it's time for the parent component to check whether any child component is being embedded into it. Say, for example, we are going to check here any child component is being embedded. Say, for example, if there is a child component is being embedded. Okay, so if it is embedded, if it is yes, what happens is this parent component starts go to the child life cycle. The child life cycle starts now. Okay, so it will stop here and goes to the child life cycle. Now the child's life cycle starts here. Okay, the child component's life cycle starts here. Okay, the child component also has its own component, right? So the component, if it is having a component, then it should have a constructor. Okay, the constructor will get automatically invoked in the child component. Okay, now the child's life cycle starts. So as of now, we have seen up to the parent's life cycle, right? Now the child's life cycle starts here. Okay, and then if there is any public property to be updated in child, again the same thing. If it is yes, it's going to update it, or else it is going to come to the child's, get inserted into the DOM. Okay, and then what happens is child's connected callback will get rendered now. It will be invoked now. Okay, and then the child will get rendered. Okay, and then what happens is now if you are having another child inside this child, okay, we can actually stack the components, right? The parent, and inside that there is a child, and inside the child we can have one more child, right? So it checks whether any other child component is being referred into it. Okay, if it is having one more child embedded into it, then what happens is it goes to execute that child's life cycle starts now. The another child is embedded, right? That child's life cycle starts now. Okay, so this is how the life cycle goes on. So now, for example, if there is no child component into this parent, sorry, if there is no other child into this child, then what happens is it comes to this particular part. Okay, if there is no other child being embedded into this child, then the child components rendered callback methods gets executed. Okay, only now the rendered callback will get executed. Okay, so you have to understand here the takeaway point is when the constructor is being invoked, and when the connected callback is being invoked, and when the rendered callback is getting invoked, you have to understand very clearly here. Okay, so once if it is no, the child is being embedded into this particular child, this rendered callback in the child will get executed. Okay, once it is done, the child's life cycle ends here. Okay, only when the child's life cycle is ending here, you can see here the parent is actually standing still. Okay, so it comes to the parent's rendered callback. Now only the parent's rendered callback will get executed. After that, only the parent's life cycle will come to an end. Okay, so this is how the component's life cycle goes on. So, for example, we have considered that previously the parent is having a child, so child's life cycle started here, right? So imagine that there is no other child for this parent. Okay, what happens is if there is no other child here, it comes here. After the parent is rendered, it comes here and checks any child component is being embedded. If it is no, immediately the parent's rendered callback will get executed and the parent's life cycle comes to an end. Okay, so this is how the life cycle of the components goes on. Okay, so only when you understand this concept, when the constructor is invoked and when the connected callback is getting invoked and when the rendered callback is getting invoked, the following videos we are going to see the hands-on, right? So it will be very clear for you. Okay, so this is very important diagram. So I hope this is clear, right? So when the particular callback methods are getting invoked, okay, so this is the concept of lifecycle hooks introduction. Okay, so the next video we will meet with the mounting phase demo and all those things. Okay, so let us meet in the next video. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.